Welcome to Whisky.com, where fine spirits meet. My name is Luening, Horst Luening. I'm the master taster of Whisky.com, and today we're at the FAQs. Yes, which number? No idea. I stopped counting a few months ago. And today we have the first topic, very, very important, Port Ellen. Port Ellen and Brora, the two lost distilleries, will be reopened in 2019. The decision fell a few weeks ago at Diageo, the proprietor of those two distilleries, where still some buildings remain visible, and I think some of the very old equipment is either there or visible on pictures, so that there will be a rebuild of the distillery, and there are still a lot of whiskies on the market, so that you can fine adjust the taste of these whiskies with the freshly rebuilt equipment to match the expectations of the connoisseurs. This is the Port Ellen 17th release, a very expensive bottle today, less than 3,000 bottles on the market. What do they write? 2,988. Bottled in 2017, distilled in 1979. And Port Ellen was closed, I think, in 1982 during the big British recession. This recession started in 1979 when Margaret Thatcher won the elections because Labour had, they placed the firemen on the electric locomotives, and the trade unions were very, very important. The whole country was paralyzed and not available for the future. And Margaret Thatcher, the Iron Lady, she hit hard into the market, and production fell steep, and a lot of unemployment was the result. A big recession appeared. Today, the reforms would be made, of course, but not that sharp, not that immediate. It would be smoother today, but in former times they didn't know better. And the customers for the whiskeys were gone. They switched over to cheap gin, and those whiskeys matured in oak were comparable expensive. And so distilleries had to close. I think 50% of the malt whiskey distilleries closed temporarily, and a lot of them closed forever. Names like Milburn, Glen Albin, Glenflagler, Ben Vivis, all those old names completely gone. And Port Ellen, they remained there, and they still filled casks into bottles, because a lot of casks were left over on Islay. And with the time, more and more casks were sold to independent bottlers, and then the amount of casks became countable. And then they stopped selling to the independent bottlers, and then I think around the year 2000, 2002, they stopped it. And after that time, those casks were sold by the independent bottlers, and then only the annual releases of Port Ellen were left over by the proprietor. And they started at €500, pounds, dollars, and today they are around 3,000 each bottle. So really expensive. And Diageo, the proprietor of Port Ellen, and Brora, a distillery very close to Clynelish, which was replaced by the Clynelish distillery in the Northern Highlands. They had the same fate and were shut down in 82, I think, or 81, 82, 83, around that year, and never opened again. But the buildings are still there. The warehouses are used for Clynelish. The same with Port Ellen. Some warehouses are there. Some buildings were wrecked. Some are national heritage and have to be preserved, very close to the Port Ellen maltings. And now Diageo said, well, those names, we earn a lot of money with these very rare bottles. The Brora, 30 years old, 35 years old, they're really expensive. And we can, well, keep on, start those distilleries again. And the infrastructure for Port Ellen is there because Lagavulin, 10 miles away, and Kalila, 20 miles away, no, 30 miles away, they are in the possession of Diageo as well. The maltings are from Diageo, so they have the supplies, they have the trucks driving to the bottling lines on the mainland. Everything is there. The personnel, probably you're able to automate some processes, so there will be some redundancies which you can move over to Port Ellen, and this would be a wonderful thing. And there are pictures of the stills of Port Ellen. We have one in the whiskey database, somebody put it in. And from Brora, I think I saw some copper through a gap in the doors of the old stills. No idea if they are still there or not. But there are pictures, I think drawings as well, construction drawings, so that they can build exactly the stills again. And brewing, fermenting, no alchemy in that, as well as maturation and cask selection. And there are still whiskey of those distilleries available so that you can fine-tune the taste of the raw whiskey to the final product. So there will be a gap, but there will be a consecutive brand. How high the prices will be when they start selling the whiskey, I have no idea. I think the first year it will be very, very expensive, but then they have enough whiskey for sale. Yeah. The decision was made some weeks ago to rebuild those two distilleries. Production will start in 2019, and the former building of distilleries, Ross Islay and Wolfburn and others, show that those schedules are real. They will be able to start production in 2019, and the first whiskey will be ready in 2022, and shortly before the Christmas season. Very well timed. I think there will be a lot of Port Ellen whiskey below the Christmas tree of the connoisseurs. Yeah, the distilling license was handed back, I don't know, in the late 1990s of Port Ellen, early 2000s, no idea. I read about that, but I can't remember the date. It's no problem to get that license back. In the past, I said no license back, no distilling. But there had been new distilling licenses on Islay. Kilchoman has a new license, and Diageo, as the biggest alcoholic beverage company in the world and by far the biggest in the UK, they will have good connections into the administration to get such a license. No doubt. So will be no problem. And with the Brora, they might have the chance to increase the license of Kleinlich because they are on the same premise. So also there should be no problem. Most of it is environmental protection. And with the new processes in place with Ross Islay, which is the newest distillery from Diageo, with the new processes in place, there will be no doubt that they will keep all environmental regulations on the fly. No problem at all. Second question was, how can I learn to taste whiskey as you're doing? Well, tasting is is twofold. One is over your tongue, where there are receptors in your tongue and molecules coming on your tongue and match to the receptor, trigger a nerve impulse, and this goes through your spine into your brain. And because the tongue is movable and there are not very many nerves going into your back, the bites per second through your tongue is limited. So the data rate is limited, and therefore there are only very few tastes you're able to distinguish with your tongue. There's sour, sweet, bitter. And in the 1920s, a new taste was found from a Japanese scientist called umami. Umami is the taste of meat. It's those very different protein tastes coming from the meat, and they found 2-3 dozens of receptors for these protein tastes, as well as the sweet and sour and so on. And well, in total, I think around 50 tastes you're able to divide, and this is not much. If you close your nose and try to taste what you have in your mouth, it's very, very complicated. It's different with your nose. All the molecules flowing through the air coming into your nose, there is a huge amount of different receptors in your nose, and depending on the velocity of the molecules in your nose, different receptors react, and you can distinguish between thick or heavy and light molecules, big and small molecules, and so on. And therefore, if you look at the mirror and look at your 2 tubes of your nose, you will find in most cases that one of your tubes is thicker than the other. Don't let your physician correct that. No, it's very important that you have different ones, and that one nose is more often closed than the other. This is good, not bad, because in the nose with a smaller tube, the air has to flow faster, and therefore heavier molecules will only be able to stick to the receptors. So 2 different tubes in your nose is important for good tasting or nosing. And then from those receptors, the nerves going through the lower part of your skull, the base of your skull, into your brain. There are very small fiber channels going through, and there the nerves go through right into your brain in the olfactory center. Yeah. Scientific speech. And there you're able to learn because it's your brain. And there are 1,000 different signals from your nose going into your brain. And with these receptors and this olfactory center, the limbic system is connected, where all the good feelings with those tastes are stored. The bad ones are stored with the amygdala, but the good ones in the limbic system. And with the years, people learn to recognize different tastes better and better. So 80% of the people are able to taste very small differences. Only 20% do not have that ability. So sorry for them, but 80%, most of them, most likely you, will be able to taste those differences. And with those differences, you build up wisdom, taste, nosing wisdom. So you have to, well, everything you have in your hands. If you have a beer, don't drink it, oh, it's so cold, very good. No, ice cold beer, not good for smelling, because with higher temperatures, more molecules evaporate you're able to smell more. Cold beer, use cold water, use temperated beer. And then smell, you will find the fruity notes of the yeasts, slightly bitter notes of the hops. And a wheat beer is different than a malt beer. So there are lots of differences. If you have bread, don't put butter on it and bite immediately. Break the bread. First smell on it, smell a second time, add butter, smell again. So you have to get closer to those substances step by step and explore everything of those substances. I had a buddy in my younger years and I learned from him everything he had. Some coffee beans, a spoonful of cocoa. So everything he smelled, and I did as he did, and with the time my knowledge of the different tastes grew, and this is the way how you're able to add your wisdom about smells, not only with whiskey, with everything you have. Smell at an apple, skin closed, cut it open, smell again, we'll find differences, a lot of differences. Then those yogurts were the best before, and if the date is closed, people throw it away. No, open it, smell, and after some time you will recognize if this yogurt is good or bad. There are yogurts out on the market which are bad a week before, best before. And then you will eat it, smell on it. You're able to taste differences, and as long as yogurt smells good, it will be good. Smell at meat and find out if it's good or bad. Smell at a fish. You will immediately know when the fish is bad. Really. So with the time, you can trust your brain, what it says about different tastes. This is the way how you learn to taste like an expert. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned. There's more to come as always. And feel free to share this video with your friends.